Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the next episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like an Eddie Bravo. Just to head it off here, no, I'm not feeling like a badass today. I just got fresh ink yesterday, so I got to keep the sleeve off of the fresh colors. But like we tend to do around here, I have got some of my fight compatriots here with me. Some might pop in a little bit later, some might not. You never know how the schedules go. First and foremost, we do want to give a quick shout out to our brother here, Golf T. TJ recently had a death of a family friend of the family and is unable to make it here with us this evening. And our thoughts are with him and the family. But luckily, I do have my other brother from another mother here with me, the young gunner, the upcomer, the stunner. RJ, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Got everything set up. Let's fucking get this shit going.
Hell yeah. Thank you again for being here. So, as we tend to do around here, the first thing I want to do real quick is break down some recent events and news that we've had come up since we've done the last show here. Now, the first big thing that I personally feel I wanted to mention here might have slipped under the radar of a lot of folks, but I, as a very naturalist kind of guy, found this to be personally just ecstatic for me. The Florida State Athletic Commission has officially announced or I guess they submitted it in writing to the UFC as of this week. They have now changed to fall in line with the World Anti-Doping Agency, the WADA rules regarding cannabis. So fighters can now possess any amount of cannabis in their system out of competition so long as they are under 150 nanograms on the day of competition, and CBD is allowed at any level, at any point in a fight camp, out of competition, in competition, day of competition, does not matter. CBD is officially completely okay for fighters in Florida. THC is okay so long as they are at less than 150 nanograms the day of the fight. Progress is finally fucking coming. State athletic commissions are finally starting to just get the picture just a little bit better, and that makes me happy. So move that aside. I know that doesn't help you a lot now, RJ, now that you're out of Florida, but you know.
Well, I mean, it really works out because about 5 counties since the new year came around have passed several bills and laws allowing marijuana possession and usage in public areas.
Yep.
So it's they're taking a good look at what the counties of the state are doing.
Yeah,
it really works out.
In line finally, so that is definitely a good sign. So I wanted to mention that real quick. Next thing I want to talk about here is a fight that has been announced this week in the upcoming time. It will be headlining the UFC Rochester card on May 18th. That card will, as of yesterday, be officially headlined by Rafael dos Anjos versus Kevin Lee at 170. It's a welterweight fight. This is going to get real interesting here because RDA is on his way out, but he's not done yet, and he's made that very clear. He's not done yet. And Kevin Lee is coming off of being destroyed after talking a whole bunch of shit that he was not able to back up. So we will see how 170 treats him now with RDA there to welcome him. That's going to be something that you definitely going to want to keep an eye out for. We are going to get a little deeper into that as we get closer to May. We will jump now to the next thing that I did want to mention that strikes me as a little bit odd, but it's one of the reasons that I am not the guy that makes the decisions for the UFC. They announced on Tuesday that Holly Holm has signed a new 6-fight contract with the UFC. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have offered Holly another contract. Obviously, she still has some potential. So it's definitely in the best interest of the company to offer her some type of contract. I don't know if 6 fights was what you want to offer a girl who is now at 5-4 and her biggest victory was against Ronda Rousey. We'll see how that works out. But moving that news on to the side, the next thing I want to talk about here is a little change up in what what looks like was all originally set in stone, was ready to go. The I's had been dotted, the T's had apparently been crossed, but not all of them, because they announced this week that headlining the UFC Ottawa card on May 4th will not be the original matchup that we had thought that they had kind of led us to believe was going to be, but as of now is officially going to be Cowboy Cerrone versus Al Iaquinta for a title eliminator shot. That has got great fight written all over it. Stylistically, size-wise, mental acuity, fight IQ, those two guys are on a very, very similar level here, and they are both honestly deserving of a title shot at this point, in my opinion. The win over whoever, either, no matter how that one comes out, whoever wins that is next in line for that title shot behind the interim winner, whoever that may be. In my opinion, this puts McGregor down to 4, because this gives us Khabib still holding the belt. It will be either Dustin or Max for the interim, who will take 2. And then the winner of Cowboy and Al here, in my opinion, goes to 3, or should fight the loser of Max Dustin to determine 3. But this most definitely shakes 155 the fuck up. In a division that was already fucking crazy, this is just adding a little more seasoning onto that crazy salad, because holy shit. So on top of that, that ties us directly into the next thing that I wanted to talk about here, Tony Ferguson. Now, for those who haven't seen the news, Tony Ferguson has been going through a hell of a time lately. He is dealing with some personal issues, some mental health challenges, I believe is how they're referring to it. He has had several episodes in the last couple of weeks. He has jumped in and out of the position of getting help for it, but now, as of this week, is going through with it. He is going to be getting help with it. The UFC is going to be helping him get worked through this, but he has some very, very serious issues going on right now. And even Dana himself has said that fighting at all is not in Tony's best interest right now. So they are essentially removing him from all prospective further opportunities at the moment until everything gets straightened out. And absolutely, we honestly all just want to see Tony come out of this okay and see him, do whatever needs to be done to get the help that he clearly needs at this point. And we wish him a speedy recovery and all the best, obviously. But with Tony being taken out of that equation now, as far as the UFC was kind of leading towards, what it seems like was Dustin and Max go for that interim title, winner fights against Khabib for the belt, and then Tony and Conor were suspectedly going to be fighting for the next shot after the interim winner. And then the loser versus the loser would fight for the next spot, and so on, and help chop in the ranks. But now with Tony getting completely taken out of that equation, that's what makes me think that this kind of drops Conor back to a number 4 position, because realistically, without a Tony there for Conor to fight, Cowboy and Al being tied up, Max and Dustin already on the interim, so that's the number 1 contender spot. Realistically, already being beaten by Khabib, that drops Conor down the rankings a little bit. I said that puts him at a 4 now. So this summer is going to be just shaking up the 155 division all kinds of crazy until we get to, I believe it's either September or November, when Khabib gets back and we find out who's going to be the belt holder. But boy, is there a whole lot of shit going on in the fucking lightweight division right now.
I mean, but that lightweight division, your top, I want to say from number 10 up, those are like those numbers are always going back and forth. Number 4 is dropping down, number 8's coming up, and this person's going down, that person's going up. It's just constant back and forth. Your top 9, 10 fighters in the 155, it's constantly, there's a fluctuation, which is good, which is really good.
And even despite the shakeup at the top of welterweight is one of the most active divisions right now. But I think if you look at, like you said, at least top 5, I'd go so far as to say top 15, really, in the lightweight division. 155 is the most active and most constantly changing division, in my opinion, right now in the UFC. And that's a good thing, because pretty much everybody in that top 15 is a big name, and has earned their way into that top 15 status. So it's nice to see, despite some of the fuckery and shenanigans that are going around in some of the other divisions that we're not going to address directly right now, at least as far as 155 is concerned, there is still a land where the king has to defend his fucking throne. And if you want on that fucking list, you got to earn your fucking way there and fight to keep it. We'll see how that goes after the summer plays out. But as of right now, at least in my opinion, 155 is climbing the fucking ladder properly and showing the other divisions how they should be fucking acting. I digress, though. So the next thing I want to take a quick second to talk about is, much like one Joe Schilling did in his move from Bellator kickboxing to Bellator MMA, and much like Israel Adesanya has made his transition from kickboxing into full MMA, as well as his training partner Dan Hooker has gone from straight kickboxing, now fighting full MMA, the newest big name from the kickboxing world has officially thrown his hat into the MMA ring. I am talking about one Raymond Daniels, who has announced that he is officially leaving kickboxing and has been signed by Bellator MMA. So depending on where the go, we might potentially get a Raymond Daniels, Joe Schilling MMA fight in Bellator. Even if not, we now have both Joe Schilling and Raymond Daniels, two of the kickboxing bad motherfuckers, loose in the MMA world, both in Bellator, and I am quite certain that between the two of them, they are going to make some fucking ripples. Both of those dudes are just bad motherfuckers in the squared circle when it comes to kickboxing. And now we're bringing them both into the MMA world. And from the footage that I've seen, Raymond Daniels looks like he is ready for just about anything in the MMA world, just like Joe Schilling has shown time and time again that he is as well. So that is definitely, in my opinion, upping the stature of the Bellator rankings right now. Speaking of Bellator rankings, props to the homeboy LDV coming in on weight, looking fucking hot, ready to kick fucking ass tomorrow night on the Bellator card. Go Swarm. The next little piece of news I want to talk about real quick. It was announced yesterday afternoon, one Luke Rockhold will officially move up to 205 and will be welcomed there by one Jan Blachowicz. Rockhold apparently is saying that the weight cut down to 185 was just not really ideal for his skill set and for his body, and 205 might be his new home. He seems to think that he can come straight at John Jones, and he thinks that Blachowicz is going to be the skipping stone that he can jump off of to do that. I wish you the best of luck on this one, Luke, but I don't think so. And they're going to do it in International Fight Week, July 9th, I believe, at UFC 239. So they're giving him the platform to make a statement here. I don't know if he is quite ready for John Jones at 205 yet. We've seen, I would like to think, not the best yet, but some damn high-level Luke Rockhold talent, and we've seen it be beaten before. So I'm hoping for his sake that he's not bullshitting, and that coming in at 205 gives him a lot more power and a lot more diversity in his game. So we'll see, because that's going to make Fight Week, or International Fight Week rather, a little interesting. Who knows? But the last news piece that I want to talk about real quick, the hottest iron in the fire all week, the biggest news that the world should quite well be aware of if they aren't now. TJ Dillashaw has been suspended for 1 year for an adverse test sample from his in-competition sample against Henry Cejudo in January. The UFC has stripped him of his bantamweight belt, throwing the bantamweight division into a whole clusterfuck of an uproar, now leading to talks of possibly the second least exciting fight in history that no one asked for, Marlon Moraes versus Henry Cejudo for the bantamweight belt, which even feels kind of weird saying, but who fucking knows? But holy shit, Dillashaw popped hot, and he admitted that he popped hot. He's not saying that he took anything, but he's working with USADA to finish the investigation out, figure out what happened, and then try and move on. Release the obligatory statement, thanks to all his fans and all that shit. But fanciness aside, the moral of the fucking story here is that TJ Dillashaw pissed hot fighting Henry Cejudo at 125. There's a whole lot of shit that's going to come unfurling for this in the 125 and 135 pound division now as a result of it, regardless of what actually happens with TJ. Aside from that, this speed bump in the road, for lack of a better term, is going to actually cause shakeups in the 125 division if it gets kept, and the 135 pound division, because of what the top of that stack looked like prior to this shit.
All I'm going to say is, hey, Dana, come on like a boy.
Right? I happen to know a 135 pound guy who would probably be willing to make a fucking trip and help your card out.
Hell yeah, I would.
So, with our news and recent events out of the way here, that will bring us on to our meat and potatoes section of today's episode, the UFC Nashville card this weekend, Thompson versus Pettis. Oh boy, oh fucking boy. This is from top to bottom. There are actually, for a beautiful change here, more fights that I do want to talk about that I don't on this card. We are getting closer towards that International Fight Week that UFC, rallies around so fucking hard every year, and they are getting back to a point where they are starting to stack those cards a little bit more enjoyably, and they're going to start tapering off, so we unfortunately won't have a card every fucking weekend again for a little while, but it looks like we're going to start stagger stepping back towards a more regular fight schedule with 1 to 2 fight nights a month and a pay-per-view once a month, once every other month. That being said, we'll kick this one right off at the top in the prelims here. So the first one that I want to talk about real quick, Randa Markos versus Angela Hill. This is going to be an interesting fight, and this is one of those that TJ and I refer to as a who's going to show up fight. We know Angela Hill is game as fuck. We know Randa Markos can be game as fuck, but we've also seen almost more often than not lately, the Randa Markos that shows up for a fight is not the Randa Markos that we're used to seeing. She gets a little lackluster. She gets a little skittish, for lack of a better term. She has trouble sticking to a game plan. She has trouble adjusting in the heat of the moment. We haven't seen any of that from Angela Hill. Angela Hill, while she might not be the most intimidating fighter in that division, she has got a fire in her fucking belly, and she lets it show. And she's not going to be shy about it. She's going to come in, she's going to be intelligent, but she's going to put fucking pressure on Markos. And while Markos does generally have a good skill set, she tends to get a little more flustered when she's getting pressured by the good strikers who can also grapple. And we've seen before, Angela Hill can come at you from a distance and keep you with some range. She can also step in and get right in that phone booth and fuck your plans up. So my vote here is, even though I want to say that the best Randa Markos we can see will show up and easily take Angela Hill's game and throw it apart, I don't think we're going to get the consistency we want here. And I think that Angela Hill is going to show up, no bullshit aside, and just do work. And I think she's going to put Markos away. I'm going Angela Hill on this. What do you say?
I'm gonna have to follow. And this has become a common thing with a lot of the uh, I don't want to say female bouts, but a lot of the female bouts. There's you always have that handful that either show up and do their job and fucking fight, or just show up and just and get a paycheck. And it's just become more and more as of this year, to where you can actually say that. Yeah, Angela Hill.
So I have to say, the next one that I want to talk about here, it might be my most anticipated fight on the card. That is Bryce Mitchell versus the Wolfman. Now, for those of you who don't know, Bryce Mitchell was on The Ultimate Fighter. He is Thug Nasty from Arkansas. He is a camo rocking, redneck, badass jiu-jitsu little skinny dude. He was most recently in the news because he still works a full-time job, had an accident with a drill where he ripped open his coin purse, so to speak, and had one of his boys wrapped around a drill bit that he had to remove himself and then drive himself to the hospital for. That does not tell you how much of a tough son of a bitch Bryce Mitchell is. I don't think you truly understand human anatomy. This man put a drill in his pocket. It went into his coin purse and wrapped around the good and plenties. He unwrapped it, pulled the drill bit out of his own sack, and then drove himself to the hospital to get healed up. This man is determined. He is medically cleared to come back. I have zero doubt in my mind that he takes this fight. And that's not to say that I don't think that Bobby Moffett stands a chance, because the Wolfman isn't a slouch. He's nothing to overlook. He is a legitimately pretty good fighter. But when you talk about a dude that tough, I don't think it would be fair to do anything other than give him the benefit of the doubt in this situation. My hat goes to Bryce Mitchell. In more ways than one.
I again, I'm gonna follow you. I watched his finale fight on for Tough, and kid's dangerous.
Yeah,
That
man.
kid's fucking dangerous. He is fucking dangerous. And coming up against somebody not top tier fighter, but a good fighter like Bobby Moffett, I would really like to see Bryce come in and just fucking clean shop.
Hell yeah. Man, that's a tough motherfucker. So, next one we're going to talk about real quick here, Alexis Davis versus Jennifer Maia. I can't really think of a polite way to say what I think here, so I'm just going to say I think Alexis Davis takes this one, and I think she takes it fairly easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only way I can accurately describe this is that I don't feel this is an even matchup. That's all I'm going to say. I don't think this is an even matchup. I think this is a cannon fodder situation here, and it's kind of mean, but, you know, like they say, it is what it is.
Yep.
So we'll just move right the fuck along. The next one, the last one on the prelims that I want to take a second to talk about here is going to be Marlon Chito Vera versus Frankie Saenz. Now, Frankie Saenz is he's got potential. The guy's he's in, like we said, he's in the UFC for a reason. You don't get there by being a slouch. But that being said, Marlon Vera is a problem for just about anyone. He is a fucking badass, dude. The guy is versatile, he's quick, and he's got a pretty goddamn good chin to boot. I think it's Vera. I think Vera takes this. It's going to be a good match, I think, but I just don't. I think Vera takes it.
Yeah. I mean, that one, to me, it's sort of a toss-up. I would like to see Vera win it because Vera, I mean, he is well-rounded as fuck. I mean, guy's got hands for fucking days. He can take you to the ground and make you tap. He's got a chin from fucking hell. And in this situation, he's got a little bit of reach. And with his striking power and his knockout power, I think if he plays the reach out and then comes in with a little 1-2 combo and backs up and just keeps the pressure, I think he could get a knockout victory pretty well. But saying that, who he's fighting, I mean, he's not an awful fighter. He's not great, but he's not a bad fighter. He can take some shots. He can take you to the ground. But on this one, I'd really like to see Vera. I'd very like that.
I'd very much like to see that again.
Yes.
Okay, so with that punny situation out of the way, that'll move us along to the main card of the evening. So opening right up out of the gate, the premiere for the main card, the ladies are opening the big show. Macy Barber, one of the top UFC female prospects right now, versus JJ Aldrich. Now, JJ Aldrich is another former Ultimate Fighter contender, not a winner. Not the worst. Macy Barber, on the other hand, has a very bright spotlight on her and a lot of people singing her praises. But I don't really feel that 6-0 record of hers is reflective of her ability. Not saying she hasn't earned a 6-0 record. What I'm saying is that this seems to me like another one of those situations we've seen time and time again where your first few pro fights are a cannon fodder situation so that they can get your numbers up. That way, when you make it to the UFC, you're already undefeated with several fights underneath you to make your star power increase, as they say. I'm not saying Macy Barber is bad, but I don't think she's as good as people are making her out to be. I think in this situation, I think it is going to be a close match. I don't think it's a sweep by any sense of the imagination, but I am going with JJ Aldrich on this one.
See, with this one, I really can't put a W on one side or the other. I do like JJ Aldrich. I really like her. I like how she fights. I really like her style. But I hate the hype train behind fighters. So I hate hype trains, whether they're worked for or not. I just don't like that. It's fucking stupid. And I really can't put a W on this one.
I can see that. So we'll just move right along here, and sticking with what is unintentionally, I believe, their theme of the evening. The next fight on the card here is Luis Violent Bob Ross Pena versus Steven Peterson. Now, Pena is another one from one of the most recent seasons of Ultimate Fighter. He actually broke his foot in the semifinals match, which sucked. And Dana basically promised him, like, you're still going to get your shot. This is, I believe, his third fight in the UFC since then, and he's on the main fucking card this time around with all the eyes you can ask for as an up-and-comer. Steven Peterson, again, this is one of those situations where the opponent isn't great, but he's not terrible. Steven Peterson is not anybody who's going to light a flash in the pan, but he's also not a no-name guy. He's not a bottom-of-the-barrel guy. He just really hasn't quite hit his stride yet, it seems. Pena, on the other hand, is pretty much dangerous from everywhere. He is so fucking tall, and he uses his range very well, but he's also got good ground game. He's got good defense. He's got a good fight IQ. He can see your moves coming. He's no slouch. I think in this situation, much like the predecessors in both other situations, I am going to go with the former Ultimate Fighter here. I'm calling this one in favor of Violent Bob Ross.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't. You kind of. I'm not screenshotting my notes, am I, Meter? You fucking pretty much read my fucking note. Fucking bastard. Bastard. Yeah. Pretty much what you just said, you fucker.
No, I think that's not going to be the best fight on the card, but that's going to be one of the ones that you are definitely want to keep your eyes out, because I think Pena is going to bring some fireworks out. I think that one's going to be something interesting to watch. But
yeah. Oh, in his reach, that kid's reach in this fight is like 5 or fucking 6 inches or some shit.
5-inch reach advantage, yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, and he uses it too. So that's the dangerous part. It's not just the 5 inches, is that he uses his reach to his advantage too. So that's why I say that keep your eye on that fight. That one's going to be a fucking barn burner, at least for the first round or so. But the next fight on the card here is another one of those firework-inducing fights as well. This one with the littler guys. We were talking about Husier Formiga versus, I believe they pronounce it Davianson Figueiredo, the striper. Dude, when you see him, watch for the stripe. You can't fucking miss him. But both of these guys, Formiga and Stripe Man, both are very, very energetic, very bouncy, little in and out, quick motion 125 guys. And they might not have the power of a heavyweight, but goddamn, if these little guys don't fucking rock 'em, sock 'em robots down there when they clash up. And these are two dudes who are neither one afraid to jump into the phone booth, plant their fucking feet, and just start fucking going. These two dudes, I also a very firework-ish show. But I think in this situation, I have to give the hat tip to Formiga. Even though the stripe might give him a little bit more speed with the racing dynamics on his hairline, I think Formiga takes this one.
I don't know. I can't remember how to say his last name. Not Formiga. Can't remember how I say that dude's last name now.
I don't know if it's Figueiredo.
Figueiredo? His last name fucks me up every time I look at it. I have to go with him, man. If they step into a phone booth and fight in the phone booth, his knockout power is just fucking on point. And I can't say that Formiga doesn't have knockout power, but he man, a lot of Figueiredo's fights have all been stopped. I have a cat trying to get in my room right now, in the office. Fuck you. Figueiredo's fights have all been stopped within the second round of KO or TKO. And his knockout power is there. He can go into the deepish water, late second round, into the third. I have to go Figueiredo on this one.
Interesting indeed. We'll have to see how that one plays out. So the next fight on this card I'm not really sure. This is one of those that I like to say it's a good matchup. It's not a good pick 'em fight. This is one where either gentleman really has an equal opportunity to win this, but this is going to be one of those matches that we call the game plan. Who can stick to the game plan, who can execute their game plan, and who can adjust their game plan the best when it comes to actual lights, camera, action time. And I'm talking about John Makdessi versus Jesus Pinedo. So I hate to say it's the reason because it's not the reason, but it's definitely a factor that you have to consider. Makdessi has a hell of a fucking head of steam around him right now. The guy can lean down, bite down on the mouthpiece, and just fucking tank out. At the same time, he's got some footwork, man. The kid can dance when he fucking needs to. On the other side of that, Pinedo's not cannon fodder. Like, far from it. That being said, though, I think that the steam that Makdessi has behind him right now is too much to ignore, and I think that Makdessi comes through with this one.
I'm going to. Oh, kitty. Okay. I'm going to have to agree with you on this, mostly because I mean, Makdessi he has good footwork, good hands. He can take you to the ground if he needs to. I mean, you're looking at somebody that has only done 2 or 3 fights in the UFC, and he didn't win his debut fight in a very spectacular fashion.
Right.
Not saying that he is not a good fighter, because he has a decent record and he does have good footwork, good hands, and decent ground game. But Makdessi just has a little bit over on him.
I agree. I think it's still going to be a good matchup. I think it's still going to be a good fight, but that will bring us to the co-main event for this weekend's card, and that is one Curtis Razor Blades versus Justin Big Pretty Willis. I've gotten into it several times on Instagram with Big Pretty because that boy talks shit about everyone on every UFC post. And then he ran from Mark Hunt like a bitch and talked shit afterwards. So, like, I'm not the biggest Curtis Blades fan in the world. I think he's been very inconsistent in his UFC career. But he has more tool-wise. He has more experience-wise. He has more power-wise, in my opinion, than Willis does here. Granted, Willis is a big boy with momentum, but not the greatest tool set, not the greatest skills in the world, not the greatest ability, and definitely not the greatest gas tank. Blades, on the other hand, while not known specifically for his cardio, can go to deep waters if he needs to. And especially, I think, against a guy like Willis, I think Blades is just going to flat out fucking dominate this fight. I think Blades destroys Willis. I'm calling second round KO.
Oh, you're more than I was. I was going Curtis. I was going, this fight's not leaving the first round. I mean, it's a testament to his chin and his overall fighting ability that, I mean, Curtis has gone up against quite a few former champions, current champions, and won. His only 2 losses are from Ngannou. His only 2 losses are from Ngannou. dude has KOs like fucking you've never seen. So again, I'm gonna say Curtis. If he plays the reach game out, he's got this one in the first round. And I don't understand how Willis can talk a bunch of shit. You have an 8-1 record. Get big, son.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think Blades takes it, but I don't think he's going to get him in the first round because much like in the Mark Hunt fight, we've seen that Willis has a tendency to literally run away from power punchers and try and wear him out, try and get him to do big swings. But I think unlike Mark Hunt, where it was literally his retirement fight and he was trying to put on a fucking show where Willis was trying to jog him out, I think Blades is a little better at controlling the octagon. He's a little younger. He's a little fresher than Mark Hunt was. I think Willis is going to try and run away. I think Curtis is definitely going to give him some problems, but I think he's going to spend the majority of the first round chasing Willis. And then I think the second round, he's going to start cutting that fucking angle off, start cutting the octagon off and cutting his escape ways out. And then I think he's going to catch him and he's going to put him against the fence and he's going to put the fucking hurt on him.
Okay. I respect that. I do respect that.
So now that will move us along to the main event of the evening. The title, well, not the title, the namesake event, rather, excuse me, clarify. The namesake event for the weekend's event, Thompson versus Pettis. We are talking about Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Anthony Showtime Pettis. Now, this fight, despite the opposing weight class names here, is taking place at welterweight. That is correct. Anthony Showtime Pettis, coming off of his injury in the Tony Ferguson fight, has officially moved up, at least for right now, to the 170 division. Now, this will be his first fight in the welterweight division, and welcoming him with open arms and a karate stance will be the Wonder Boy. Now, I completely understand that a guy like Pettis, who says that he has been cutting a significant amount of weight to get down to 155 for years, has decided that the best move for his body, for his performance, for the style that he's trying to accomplish and execute is to stop cutting so much weight and to consider going up to the next weight class. And I am full support of fighters cutting less weight, fight close to your natural fucking weight. It's easier on your body. It lets you take more damage if need be and gives you a truer sense of your own ability and power, in my opinion. That being said, when you make that move to another division, you might want to be a little more selective with the fight that you accept for your first one than I think Anthony was in this situation. I am in no way, shape, or form saying that Anthony Pettis is an incapable fighter, because we have all seen what that man is capable of at 155. They don't call him Showtime because he's fucking boring. The guy is quick, the guy is agile, and the guy has got fucking highlight reels for his fucking past. The dude can do some shit.
That good old run on the cage, Pettis.
Yeah, no one can ever mention Anthony Pettis without that fucking Benson Henderson cage run ninja kick. But when you make that move up, the first guy that you're going to see if you're Anthony Pettis is a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And stylistically, they're very similar. They both adopt that point fight karate stance to a degree. Wonderboy even more so than Pettis here. They both use their kicks very well. Again, Wonderboy notably more than Pettis here. They both have good hands and good movement speed. They've both got competent ground games. But again, check mark. Both boxes, I believe, go in favor of Wonderboy. Now, we've said it time and time again, you can't go by MMA math, and just because something looks good on paper doesn't mean that's how it works in the octagon. But as we've seen with many notable fighters in the past, Conor McGregor, when you come from 155 to 170 for that first time against a guy who's used to being there, it doesn't always work out the way that you'd like it to. Game plan doesn't necessarily work the same way when you're not used to how your body responds to being at that weight, especially when you're talking about going up and cutting less, because you've essentially trained your body to cut more and respond at a lower threshold. You're now hauling more weight, you've got more blood, you've got to circulate, you've got more muscles, you have to oxygenate. It's not the same thing fighting at a higher weight class. And I think this is a prime example of, yes, sometimes it is better to go up, but be careful what you fucking wish for, because Daddy Dana will go, oh, you want to come to welterweight? Well, here's Wonder Boy. Like I said, I don't think Pettis is incompetent, but I don't think that he stands much of a chance, frankly, against Wonder Boy this weekend. Granted, I have been wrong in the past, but as someone who has watched Wonder Boy since he came into the UFC, and somebody who has watched Pettis since his fucking WEB or WEC, WBC, whatever the fuck it was, days, back in the Strikeforce era, the early days, the good old days, the Henderson off the cage days, I don't think Pettis has what it takes his first time out in a new division against somebody as established there as Wonder Boy. I think it's going to be a close fight. I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I don't think it's going to be an easy KO, but I think I'll say mid late third to early fourth round, it goes Wonder Boy.
Yeah, we talked about this fight before, and we were all unanimous agreement that it was going to be Wonder Boy. I mean, again, Pettis, I love you. I love the way you fight. I love you push the fight. You don't bitch out. You're always fucking up there swinging or taking a motherfucker on the ground and not wrestle fucking them, as in the words of good old Golf T. You're not a wrestle fucker, like a certain family out there. You always keep stuff moving, but coming into a weight class where you've never fought before and you were fighting a motherfucker like Wonder Boy, you got that's trouble from the first letter to the fucking last. That's got trouble written all over it. I mean just the people that Wonder Boys fought, won against, lost against. I mean, like Robert Whitaker, Till, friggin' what's that guy's name? Oh, that's right. Woodley. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. The guy has some of the best names in his weight class in his record. Shit can happen, as Golf T says, sun shines on a dog's ass every now and then. Yeah, Wonder Boy all day. That's hook, line, and sinker. Shit can happen though.
Right? Yeah.
Both of them.
That's why I always say, we always mention that, MMA math is no guarantee. Just because it looks good on paper doesn't mean that's how it's going to unfold when they get in that fucking octagon. But there comes a point when the evidence gets pretty goddamn stacked against you and it don't look good in your favor. This, I think, is one of those situations where we've seen Pettis perform before, but I think he's stepping onto a level that he's just not ready for right now. And I'm not saying he can't compete at 170, but I'm saying you're going from walking in the kiddie pool to jumping off a high dive here.
Yeah, I mean, if he is serious about stepping up into the 170 weight class, and he comes in and has a half decent fight, whether it's a win or a lose, I mean, this could really put him firmly as a contender of the 170 weight class. It very well could, if he is serious about making that step up the class. He can very easily fuck up the stacks up there.
Absolutely. On the other hand, he could also kind of get turned into a fucking tennis ball and just get bounced around at 170, because some of us are that Sergio is the Pettis brother with the real talent. But who knows? MMA math doesn't always work. So you're just going to have to tune in this weekend to the UFC Nashville card to find out for sure. But, ladies and gentlemen, those are our breakdowns. Those are our predictions. We're going to call it all for the evening with the words. So if folks decide that this wasn't enough for them and they want to keep on talking some MMA talk with you, where can they get a hold of you, RJ?
Instagram, RJ__vapes. Here in the near future, I'm going to start getting back on the YouTubes. I finally got some shit figured out. Yeah, I finally got a schedule worked out. So coming up in the next few weeks, RJ Vapes on YouTube. Sure, expect some stuff on there. Find me on there. Find me on Instagram. Hit me up. Let's talk some shit, man. Talk some shit.
Thank you very much for your time, brother. I always appreciate having you here with me to break down the fights. So we're going to call that all for this evening, folks. So as always, if we have managed to hold your attention thus far throughout the video, please consider giving us a thumbs up, maybe a subscribe. If we tickled your fancy enough, maybe even give us a share and tell your friends about us so we can grow the damn thing here. On the other side of that coin, if you think that we are just a couple of dipshits sitting around talking out our asses to a couple of webcams, well then by God, we fucking deserved it, and give us the thumbs down. But either way, thank you for tuning in. We are going to call it call that all for now. So until next time, remember, you can root for anything. Don't let ignorance stop you. Have a good night, folks.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they fought with expert timing.